will be brought forward. But if the U.S. breaches the debt ceiling and defaults on its debt, there could be significant implications for Social Security beneficiaries. The debt ceiling represents the max amount of money the U.S. government can borrow, and if it's not raised or eliminated, the government may not have enough funds to meet its financial obligations, including Social Security payments. Experts warn that in such a scenario, Social Security checks may be delayed. The National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare has cautioned that, without a debt limit increase, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and other payments may not be made on time and in full. It means that beneficiaries could experience a delay in receiving their benefits. And while the fate of President Biden's student loan forgiveness program remains up in the air, borrowers should definitely expect to resume payments before the end of August. Because even the Education Secretary has confirmed the repayment date during a Senate Appropriations hearing. The emergency period is over, and we're preparing our borrowers to restart. The Biden administration plans to restart the student loan payments no later than 60 days after June 30th. Based on that schedule, you can expect to resume payments on or before August 29th. Payments have been paused since March 2020 during the early days of the crisis, and there had been speculation that the Biden administration may try to extend the pause yet again, especially if the forgiveness plan gets struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court, but that's no longer on the table.
Madam Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Price of a drug is, and how it counts against one's deductible is a major frustration. Is not only is a frustration for me, but it's also a frustration, I think, for many.
We're providing $55 million in bonuses to our hourly frontline associates this quarter. And though there has been a slight decrease in gas and travel costs, recently the impacts of inflation are still affecting Americans, making it tougher for families to afford groceries and other essential goods. Microsoft, ExxonMobil, Walmart, USA have also offered bonuses, pay raises, and even gift cards to employees. But still, many of the nation's employers are still not paying their workers a living wage. The company website states that Lowe's employs around 300,000 associates, but it has not specified how much money each worker will receive and over what time period.
Between the White House and administration and Democrats up on Capitol Hill. Earlier today, both the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and the Senate Republican leader, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, were on CNBC, and they explained really the fundamental philosophical dilemma here, which is all about how much is the U.S. government going to spend. Here's what they said.
Back on its feet and get the country in a place where it can sustain itself until we get a vaccine.
Now, Melissa, lawmakers had talked about an idea of having a deal by Friday morning. It looks like there's not a whole lot of time to pull something that big together by that timeline. But one of the questions about this meeting on Capitol Hill that's going on now is
the Republican Speaker and a Democratic President, which could be fateful for the country in both their political careers, and the ability of each side to unify their parties and shape public opinion to avoid or dispense blame will be crucial. The clash is over the need to raise the government's borrowing authority within months, without which the United States would default on its debts in a way that could send the domestic and global economies spiraling and could inflict deep pain. Republicans are seeking to use the situation as leverage to stop Biden's domestic program. The president, as he moves toward making his re-election campaign official as early as this week, says the GOP must not hold the nation hostage to what he says is an extreme agenda. The debt ceiling showdown is important to Biden, as he seeks to protect the legislative achievements of his term so far, and to portray an image of strength and purpose. McCarthy is seeking to unite his party around him to pass a bill that will raise debt ceiling for a year in exchange for deep spending cuts. The measure would limit growth in government spending to 1% a year, block student loan forgiveness, resigned new funding for the IRS, and introduce tougher work requirements for Medicaid. Even if it makes it out of the House, there's no chance this will pass. The approach is meant to make it look like the public and Biden is being obstructive and should hold the blame for any debt defaults. The White House has said it won't negotiate over a debt ceiling increase, which is Congress's responsibility, and will only accept a clean proposal to raise the nation's borrowing limit. But the Speaker on Sunday was adamant that Biden will have to climb down from the position as the country races closer to a crisis that could peak during the summer. Even recently, the Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri introduced the Keep Our Promises Act to exempt Social Security and Medicare from the debt ceiling. Social Security and Medicare beneficiaries must be confident that their benefits will be paid in full and on time. Senator Hawley's legislation will ensure these programs are never used as leverage in negotiations over the debt limit. Senator Hawley has said in an official statement, Social Security and Medicare are not bargaining chips. These are promises we made to the people, and we must not break them. The Keep Our Promises Act would first exempt Social Security and Medicare from the statutory debt limit. That it would authorize the Treasury Department where the statutory debt limit is reached. So, it would also permit the Treasury Department to use this authority in all future debt limit episodes, thereby permanently insulating Social Security and Medicare from any impact of a debt ceiling standoff.
Property insurance policies in Florida. So 25% of what they saw coming in from Ian was related to property lines and 75% in auto coverage. And what they've said is that the inflation related to both of these is significantly adding to their costs. We know that house values have skyrocketed in Florida. And so if you're paying someone to replace the loss of their home, the costs are significantly going to increase. Not only that, they're looking at bodily injury costs where it comes to auto insurance increasing as well because of medical inflation. So there you're getting it. They say that the estimated catastrophe.
Now, states were given $195 billion, everybody. $195 billion to give their citizens a stimulus check as well. Some states are offering tax rebates while others are giving you $50 checks and even $1,000 stimulus payments. States were given this money to help the people in need. Some states like Colorado, Maryland, and New Mexico are giving checks to people who make less than a certain amount of money or who are on unemployment. Other states like Florida, Georgia, and Michigan and Texas are putting the money toward $1,000 bonuses for teachers. Two Maine state senators are opposing to change the governor's Emergency Energy Assistance Bill to benefit those who need the most. Senator Rick Bennett and Senator Nicole told reporters that they've been working together on this bill to help the low income. And Bennett, a former Senate president who was one of the 8 to vote against the bill, said he feels strongly that the public should have a chance to weigh in before the legislature spends close to $500 million. The original bill called for $450 checks to be sent to 92% of Maine adults and set income limits at $100,000 and $200,000 for couples. That program is projected to cost nearly $400 million. So Bennett and Grohowski are proposing to send checks of varying amounts to 41% of Maine adults based on your income limit. That's up to $60,000, and the system would make payments as high as $800 for couples making $20,000 or less a year. $400 for couples that are making between $40,000 and $60,000 a year. The cost of the program would be around $200 million. So Bennett and people are proposing to keep other parts of the bill still in the stimulus program, including $40 million in supplemental funding for the low-income heating assistance program and $20 million to support emergency housing and shelters. They're proposing to increase from $10 million to $15 million emergency heating assistance funds.